Hey guys, it's Jeff and welcome to another edition of ScriptReaderPro. We have a great episode for you on something that a lot of you ask us about. Today we're going to talk about how to make your comedic characters laugh out loud funny. Our tips and tricks coming up right after the break. Learning how to write comedy scripts that make readers laugh out loud is no easy task. But if you're writing a comedy, your dialogue had better damn be funny. Not jokey, not just a comment, not just blue throwaway humor, but I'm dying from laughter, cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs funny. When wondering how to write comedy scripts with super funny dialogue, think of all the dialogue that you've read in spec scripts with weak jokes or line deliveries. Now multiply that by 1,000, because that's how many different execs, producers, managers, and studio readers were left nonplussed by the humor in all the comedy scripts they read last year. The best way to avoid this scenario is to make your characters truly witty. When your characters say something witty and different to elicit a laugh, the reader will be impressed and think you're a better writer than maybe you are. So take your time giving your characters a razor-sharp wit, and it will pay off in dividends. But the question is, how do you do this? How do you make all the gags feel like they've been written by a professional comedy writer? How do you give the characters Woody Allen-esque one-liners? One easy and oft overlooked way to give your characters fantastic lines is not to spend hours racking your brains to come up with an amazing joke yourself, but modify an existing joke. There are literally millions of jokes out there ready to be adapted to your comedy scripts. Say you have a guy in your comedy screenplay who's like, really immature. You could spend ages trying to come up with a funny joke about how he acts like a 14-year-old. Or you could head online and run a search on jokes about immature men. Within seconds, you'll find an abundance of gags ready to be adapted. For example, men are like government bonds. They take so long to mature. This can then be easily adapted to a one-liner said by one of your characters along the lines of, he needs to grow up. I've seen government bonds mature faster. You get the picture. This will immediately give your characters the comedic edge over most others out there in spec script land. The idea is to take the initial joke and adapt it or be inspired by it, not outright lift it from the internet into your comedy script. Now some newbie writers love to complain, oh, you can't do that, it's stealing. Now to be clear, I'm not saying to duplicate something that is clearly copyrighted or intellectual property belonging to someone else. But the fact is, there are literally millions of jokes out there in the public domain. Now, obviously, in an ideal world, we'd all be gifted with the ability to come up with completely original zingers off the tops of our heads. But most comedy writers, even professional ones, need a little help. Take Woody Allen's joke in Annie Hall about him wanting to do to his ex-girlfriend what the government had been doing to the country for years. This is an adaptation of an old Jack Benny joke, but does anyone really care? Does anyone think Woody Allen's not funny because he adapted an old joke? But what about characters that are just generally comedic and not necessarily witty? Take George Clooney's character Everett in Oh Brother, Where Art Thou? We would argue that he has some of the funniest dialogue in the film, but it's his sidekicks, Hogwallop and O'Donnell, who are arguably funnier. The Coens achieved this by giving each character their own voice. They each have their own speaking style, and very little of what they say comes across as jokey. This is because the humor comes from naturalistic or humorously unnatural voices, individualized within each character. Great advice, we know, just write like the Coen brothers, stupid. While we realize how difficult that is, our point remains. Give your characters a point of view and base any humor coming from them off of that point of view. This is the basis of all great comedy writing. You could also try fleshing out fully formed characters using this screenplay character development method. Your characters' voices should then become clearer for you, and just like everyone you know who has a different sense of comedic voice, for better or worse, so should your characters. So, in conclusion, if you want to know how to write a comedy script with dialogue and characters that make studio readers, agents, and managers double up with laughter, here's what you should do. If you have a witty character, make sure that their jokes are super funny by modifying and being inspired by existing jokes found online. And if you have a comedic character, make sure that how they act, rather than what they say, makes them funny. Do this, and your comedy scripts will be head and shoulders over 99% of the specs out there, and studio readers will be that much more likely to give it that recommend grade you're looking for. So what do you think of our methods to punch up your comedy scripts? Let us know in the comments section below. And if you like this video, be sure to shamash that like button. And for more videos just like this, punch that subscribe button in the face. Until next time, write, and write some more. Peace.